Rates are starting to move and a lot of talk about them and what's going to happen. That's what we want to talk about today.
Before you do anything financial, do not get any more debt. That's
great advice.
Most obvious one.
Yeah, obvious, but sometimes overlooked at the same time, to be fair.
Obvious to some, maybe.
You know.
Having that dual income really increases borrowing power than the single applicant on 100.
Okay.
Even though it's the same figure.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde.
And Catherine, good morning. How are we?
Good.
We have a super special guest this morning. We have Adam Burstein from Core Finance. How you going?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Now, obviously, the hint is in the name Core Finance, but tell us about yourself and your company. What do you do?
So we are mortgage brokers, predominantly in the construction space. We've got a big team. There's about 12 of us at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a lot in that construction space. We do everything from house and land. We do obviously established refinancing. We do car loans, asset loans, debt consolidations, and then we partner with some settlement agents and whatnot as well. So
okay, cool. So in your team, do you have certain team members that just do construction loans and just do car loans, or everyone does a little bit of everything?
Everyone does a little bit of each, but we've got like an asset team who just does the car loans, consolidations, things like that.
Yeah.
Specialise in that.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good to know. Today's topic, Tony, take it away.
Rates and what kills borrowing power. So I feel like this is a really great topic to be covering right now as rates are starting to move and a lot of talk about them and what's going to happen, things to try and avoid or things to help you get that borrowing done. So that's what we want to talk about today.
I feel like particularly in the year 2024, the prices have skyrocketed to insane numbers. So I think really the borrowing capacity is actually super important to talk about because, you know, what you could get for, say, $650 back in the day is definitely not what you can get now. So people really need to be a little bit smarter with their finances, tweaking a little bit to really, I guess, stretch their borrowing capacity as much as they can to really meet where the real estate market is at the moment.
We've had one of those times where prices have gone up and people's borrowing capacities have gone down.
Yes.
Because as the price has gone up, the rates has also climbed, which makes people's borrowing capacity come down. So how do we improve that? It's been a big topic for all our builder partners, people calling up our office, anyone wanting to get in. They're quite surprised that they'd looked at this in 2020. They could buy something for 400. Now they're looking at it. They can't even get 300. Like
they can get a block of land for 400. And that's about it.
How does this happen? Like they can't understand it. So hopefully we can shed some light on that today.
Okay.
You hear a lot of people saying sorry on that as well. Like, you know, I pay $700 a week rent. Why can't I get a mortgage for that? And it's not quite as easy as that, because of the risk mitigation and stuff. But this is what we'll uncover.
Yeah.
Because that's the question I got. I'm paying $700 a week rent. Yeah, but it's not quite as simple as, and I get it, but, you know, this is what we want to unearth.
Yeah. So let's just start with, I guess, some generic advice, if you will, on how they can sort of increase their borrowing power.
So look, I suppose the general thing when someone comes in to see us would basically stop before you do anything financial. Do not get any more debt. That's
great advice.
Most obvious one.
Yeah. Obvious, but sometimes overlooked at the same time, to be fair.
Obvious to some, maybe.
You know. We've got some stories.
Why can't I borrow $600 anymore?
Yeah.
You just bought an $85,000 car, mate. Like,
I
that's going to hurt it.
I actually had clients this week and they said we went to get a car on the weekend and we told them that we were looking at buying an investment property. And kudos to the car guy. He goes, you know what? Don't buy a car until you've got your investment property.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow.
Oh, geez.
I really appreciate that because that would have really changed things. And I think they wanted to do a $45,000 car loan. So that, you know, that's quite significant. And he actually said, no, I want you to go figure out what you want to do with Catherine for investment. And once that's done, we'll look at it.
Well, he could have changed the course of their life, couldn't he? Like if they've got that
that's a big deal. And It's not very car salesman of him, and
No.
I'll give him credit for that, whoever he is.
Breaking
But,
the stereotype right there.
I know,
Good on you,
but
mate. Good on you.
Financial planner, right?
yeah, but I value that, and I was like, sweet, and I'm glad, and I'm almost questioning why you even thought to buy a car at the same week we're having a chat about, you know, building in Rockingham, but here we are. So sometimes overlooked is what we would say on that one, but obviously try not to put yourself in that position. Yeah.
Some of the big points are like, obviously, don't take any more debt out.
Mhm.
Don't change your job. That one comes up a lot. Sometimes people change their job. They've gone from a job where you're full-time with overtime. They've started a new one. All of a sudden, overtime's now an issue because they've got a certain time in their employment.
This one can be a little bit confusing. So let's deep dive into that one a little bit. I would say particularly for the FIFO guys, right? So this is where they can get caught out a bit because sometimes they're on contract, they're on casual contract,
Correct.
then it goes into PAYG, but then they're working under the same umbrella company, and there's a lot of complexity to that. Can you give some insight to that? Because a lot of the FIFO guys actually get confused because they're like, nah, it's still the same swing. It's still the same Rio Tinto. Why do I have to start 3 months ago? Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, you understand what I'm saying, but maybe give some insight to that.
I suppose often it can actually be okay.
Yeah.
But before you make any switches, you'd probably want to speak to your broker and understand how it will impact you.
Yes.
Because even though you're under the same umbrella, it may be the fact that being on a different site, a different contract, a different hourly wage, a different HR department potentially, it could change how your pay is structured. You might go from a full-timer to a casual.
Yes.
And then a casual, you know, you need a certain amount of time in that employment for them to be able to work out what your income's going to be because it can change time to time, or you might go from casual to full-time with overtime, and then you need to prove how much overtime you're going to earn. So there's time frames required. It may be all right. It might be okay to just do the switch because you'll find some mining companies guarantee your allowances, your overtime amount, your base salary, your shift and whatever allowance.
Yes.
And they can almost be used straight away.
Yeah. I've seen it, like, you know, they've been on a full-time contract, and it means that you're like, this is your contract, that's what you get paid. And then they'll leave to go do the exact same job, or it's semi-part-time contract, or it's full-time, or whatever it is, but it's casual. So you can only take, a percentage of it, and it's not guaranteed because they can shut the contract down and you're gone tomorrow, whereas a full-time contract's a bit harder. I saw it on the wharfs as well. The boys were working, 65-hour weeks. Look what we've got, but then when you look at the contract, they've only got a 20-hour-a-week contract, and you have to kind of go off that, and then you use the overtime. Correct. And it gets quite messy. And then he went on strike, and it just blew the tops.
Yes.
Don't go on strike, mate. Just keep working. But yeah, I suppose it's, again, the big advice is when you're in that kind of, you're not sure, go speak to someone that knows and they'll tell you what to do.
Yes.
It's not always a case that you have to wait 6 months again.
Don't sign anything until you talk to your finance broker and make sure we're doing the same thing. But I've even had clients get caught out where, let's say they're cleaning up in the mines and then they go, oh, I'm just going to clean on this site. And it's actually a completely different company, but they don't understand because to them it's the same job.
Yeah.
Right. But it's actually a totally different job at the same time. And that's sort of, in terms of finance world, they may not grasp that although you are technically doing the same job, it's actually under a totally different company altogether.
I think sometimes what makes sense to people like us who see this day in, day out compared to the person who is doing that job is completely different. Like if no one's told you about it, you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's having that education piece is in speaking to the broker to find out how certain changes will impact.
Like having a second job, it's not as easy as just, I earn an extra 40 grand a year. It doesn't work. There's a percentage and there's a calculation, and I don't fully understand it. That's why I work with brokers, to make sure. But you see people going, well, I have 2 jobs, but it doesn't work quite like that. Or I've got 2 part-time jobs. This doesn't count as a full-time job. It's just, there's a lot of moving factors that can really trip people up.
Yeah, there is. And it's not, I suppose, set in stone either. Obviously, it's bank specific. So it might not fit at the bank that you're inquiring with, but with a broker, you can have a look at different lenders and see where that falls. Yeah.
In terms of your clientele, would you say the majority of them are more now doing sort of a dual income, like you and a partner, you and a friend, or are you still getting a lot of the single applicants?
We are definitely getting more dual applicants. It almost feels like to buy a house at the moment, you have to have 2 people, 2 incomes. Yeah. So I suppose the lower income people that we were, $70,000 I wouldn't say it's a lower income, but that is now struggling to purchase a property.
Yeah.
You know, like unless you're on $100,000 plus, it kind of makes things hard. But if you've got two people on sort of say 60,000, it's possible.
Yes.
You know, like having that dual income really increases borrowing power. And as well, like if you've got a husband and wife and one person's working on, let's say 100,000 and the wife's not working, or you've got two people working on 50,000 each, the two people combined is actually a much higher borrowing capacity than the single applicant on 100.
Okay.
Even though it's the same figure, it's safer for the bank, obviously, that there's two people, one person
security.
loses out. Yeah. So it's very different. So two people definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, interesting. Now, let's say in that example, what would be the impact of children? How much does that impact the borrowing capacity? And realistically, it does.
Again, it's always bank specific.
Of course.
Knocking out, it could be $30,000, $40,000 of borrowing power per child, potentially. But then it's always good, like I said, you speak to a broker, you see what other incomes are available. Sometimes people have family assistance. Sometimes people have child support assistance. Like there's all different ways to look at it. There's no one particular case that is across the board.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's so many variables, but that's why it's important to get insight from someone like yourself. So a lot of people don't understand is obviously you do need to have sort of like what we call like a track record with your finances when you lodge and things like that. There are certain things that obviously aren't as favourable to be seen on your track record. Could you give us examples of that? Things to avoid 3 months prior.
This is literally on your
lodging.
bank statements. This is literally what they can see in the bank statements.
Yeah. So obviously high spending in any capacity can be an issue, but betting is your number one. Anything to do with sports bet, it's obviously you're not controlling your money well.
Is that you're seen as like high risk maybe?
Yeah, more so. Okay. And as well, even a lot of people will come in and they'll say, yeah, I bet a lot, but I win a lot as well. And they still see the outgoings, the income. The banks just don't seem to like it. And also sometimes when people think that they're winning a lot, when you look at their overview of their bank statement, you give them a 3-month snapshot, they're down. Generally more times.
You're a buzzkill. Adam the buzzkill. Way to crush their dreams. They're going to be a professional bettor, gambler.
If I'm having a couple of beers with the boys in on a punt, I'll take cash out and I'll just do like the $5 bets and it's gone, and I know that. But I watch some of the boys and I'm just like, geez, they're just on their phone. And it's so easy. And we're sitting in the pub right next to the TV, but they're on their phone because it's so quick. And I'm like, that's a dangerous road to be jumping down there.
I think it's more a male thing.
Oh, definitely.
I couldn't care less about gambling. That would never interest me. But maybe it's more a men thing. Hey?
There's quite a few girls out there love gambling as well. Yeah.
It seems to be a cultural thing. Like even on the mines, like everyone has a drink together and has a bet, and they don't see the harm in it because it's small amounts.
And everyone's got a tip. Everyone's got a tip for you. Oh, I've got a tip for you in this one. Everyone's got a tip.
The small amounts add up though.
Yeah, a man with an opinion.
This is it. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Let's just cut that one out. Let's not start that.
So besides sports bet and all the fun ones, what else is something else we need to obviously monitor? Things like that when we're looking at getting a loan.
Anything in regards to like, Uber Eats.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
OnlyFans.
Afterpay. Yes. Afterpay is a big one, I think, because essentially spending money you don't have, right? You have to put yourself on a payment plan. So that's never favourable.
Afterpay doesn't seem to be a huge issue because they know that there's, a term. That
there's a plan.
Paid off. Yeah. Okay. So, look, I reckon one of the biggest issues, if we're talking about issues to come up, is people getting payday loans.
Okay.
So you go to Cash Converters, you go to Cash Stop, I don't know, the other ones that you see, Sunshine Loans, all those type of things. If a bank sees that automatically in their head says this person can't afford to live.
Yes.
And people are often not educated on the fact that, they might say, okay, look, I need a quick $1,500 to go on holidays with my family. Well, I'll go to Cashies, I'll go and grab the $1,500 and off we go. But with the rate that's 50% that comes with that, it's not a good thing. But when the bank starts looking at it, they're like, why has that person gone and got a $1,500 debt? And now they're paying that back, which is going to be $5,000-$6,000.
Particularly if it's more than once, yeah.
If there's a few inquiries on it, doesn't look good. If there's more than one, I suppose, payday lender, it definitely doesn't look good. Even if there's one.
Yes.
It's not a good sign.
Yes.
So that's probably something to think about before you go and commit to anything like that.
Another thing, I'm just going really off topic, but it made me think about it. I guess like Centrelink and things like that. So a lot of the time people will be on like Family Tax A And they don't really understand why that can't be part of their borrowing income sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like family assistance.
Correct. Yeah.
So
and what's the rent one called? Rent assistance.
the rental assistance.
Yeah.
So like family assistance can be part of your income depending on the age of your children.
Okay.
So they take that into account. However, things like rental assistance, obviously, if you move into a property, you will no longer have rental assistance.
Yep.
So you don't get that as part of your income.
Common sense, not so common, but here we are, yes.
But yeah, things like that. Single parent payment is often a big one.
Okay.
Most lenders don't want to look at that. There are very few that will take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Do they accept child support? So I know there's a couple of different types. You can have the court-ordered child support, or you've also got like the private ones where they just, are they both seen the same or differently, or like how does it work?
They're seen differently. However, it seems that a lot more lenders at the moment are starting to come around with the private child support.
Right, okay.
As long as you can get some sort of letter from a solicitor to say that this is the agreement,
Right, okay.
and you can see proof that there's
If there's
payments over 3-6 months.
Yeah, so yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so
and
they would look at it.
It's got to be, regimented and similar. So it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
Having a court-ordered child support, I suppose you could say, or a CSA agreement is more beneficial because you know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unless that money's actually getting paid, you can't use it either. So
Okay.
So there has to be evidence and proof. So like I've just because I've always been the rule of thumb. If it's court ordered, then it's a lot more healthier than private.
It is, yeah.
That was I was like private, and I was we don't really use it, or they will look at it. It has to be regimented. Then when you start going down that road, you're like,
I think it's always going to be a case by case. And I think that's why you really need to talk to a finance broker about that, because one is case by case for the client, but case by case for each bank as well. So it's almost these two parts of it, So
and this is what I say: don't sign anything till you spoke to a professional. And I still see people signed on this land. Have you been to a broker? No, you have no idea how much you can borrow. No.
Yeah, but I'm on $100,000, so it's fine.
Yeah, but I've got a car and 2 kids here. You're on about 60 grand then. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
how you lose deposits.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And you bust your ass to make a 2 grand deposit, and then you can't get it back, right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, I guess, not everyone, but there's definitely that culture where a lot of high earners are high spenders,
Correct, yeah.
And that's the catch with it, where a lot of people might have, I guess, unnecessary assets in terms of toys that is not going to be looked at favorably either.
Few things on that, like obviously lifestyle creep is very common. Like the higher income earners are generally the ones who have the most debt and the lowest savings.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. But they generally have assets to go along with that, being, cars and boats and jet skis and what have you.
It's a typical WA life.
I know,
It was 4x4, jet ski, boat. Like.
But on the other side of that, if you are a high income earner, you're also expected to have a certain level of savings to make the application.
Okay.
Because if you don't, it obviously means you're spending too much money and you cannot afford what you're looking to do. So there's more onus on those people to have more.
Okay.
Which I suppose makes it a little bit more difficult for them. But we do see a lot of high income earners coming through, especially people in the mines, just basically coming with nothing.
I actually agree with that. That is very common and almost a culture in itself where they have this habit of spending everything they earn and then that they don't have any savings. And I guess almost sometimes when they start seriously look into building and things like that, it's a bit of a reality check of going, well, hang on, why am I working so hard? Why am I working away and doing all this for $150K a year and I actually don't have anything to show for it?
It's a massive reality check.
Yeah.
But often, we do see these people, but depending on their situation, often having these toys, it gives them the ability to either pay down debt or raise deposits as well, depending on what's owing on these things. So it's not always a bad thing that you've got it or you've spent the money on it. It's just about what are your choices? What do you want to do? What's important to you? Is having these things important to you, or would you reduce, the value of the car that you have, increase your deposit and get into a house?
Yeah.
Just to remind me of something there, I played rugby league years ago when I was younger, and a lot of the guys in there have come from nothing, like literally nothing, and then they've got this job in the mines and paying 120K a year, and exactly that. And I remember speaking to them, I was like, why did that happen? And they're like, because we came from nothing. We finally got money. We want to enjoy our life. We don't care about buying houses. It was, and I understand that mentality because we were literally sharing one meal for. I get what these guys have come from real low socioeconomic housing to then, scaffing or whatever on the mines and making good coin and going, I'm actually going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But then it catches up with them. You see them going, how do they'll come to me and go, Tons of how do we get in a house? And you go, you need some, and you look at them and go, you've got nothing, And there's a couple of ones I've done for some of the boys as well, was to get it over the moving stuff around and taking a little bit of my comms and just making things to happen, talking to the builder really nicely, can we do this that way? And I understand where that came from, but it catches up with them, it caught up with all of them, like shit.
I suppose the big thing, it's education, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they are not aware of what they're doing with their money and what that means for them in the future, it's the easiest way is just to do what you want to do, right?
And owning their own house, a lot of these people was like I've never owned my own house. I can never get in. And you're going, you're making enough money that you can actually own your house, and you see them, but what? Like it's crazy, right? So I don't know why I brought that up, but it was just like, some people just, I understand their mindset, rightly or wrongly. I understand where they're coming from when they've came from nothing, and I mean nothing.
Yeah, I actually used to work on the mines when I was younger. And I feel like there's two ways of thinking of the people out there. One is we're here for a short time. We're going to make the most of this. We're going to really take the money and project ourselves into the future with what we can do financially. Or it's let's have fun.
Yes.
Right?
I wonder who regretted that. A bit of both, maybe. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope that gave a bit of insight to the impact you can make on your own borrowing capacity in different ways. So I think the message for today really is, if you are looking at getting a loan, you really need to talk to a finance broker and break down exactly what you can do to obviously maybe increase your borrowing capacity and obviously get it over the line.
I think that's
when things to come.
Yeah, just talk to a broker and be educated around what's possible, and then from there you can make decisions on what you want to do.
There's 100 options out there, right? Yeah. Don't try and do it on your own. Go and get the help and be committed.
Okay, great.
Well, like, share, follow as always, and we'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.